Walk into the garden of a traditional Japanese farmer and you will not find what you find in most American backyards. No weeds choking the rows, no chemical smell, no bottles of poison lined up against the fence. Just clean, productive soil and plants that look like they've never had to fight for their lives. And here's the part that gets me every time. They're not out there on their knees pulling weeds for hours. They figured out something that the rest of us have been paying $100 a season to avoid learning. I've been growing food in my backyard for over 20 years. I have spent more time than I care to admit crouched between rows, yanking chickweed by hand, thinking there had to be a better way. Turns out there was. Turns out there's always been a better way. And the core of it costs you absolutely nothing. If you still get a newspaper, you're already holding the answer in your hands every morning. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 things that make this method so powerful. Starting with the ancient Japanese farming logic behind it, right through to how you actually do this in your own backyard this weekend. Number 5 on this list is the one that surprised me the most. It's what happens underneath the newspaper after just a few weeks, and once you see it, you'll never look at a weed problem the same way again. And number 7 is so simple, so obvious in hindsight, that I genuinely felt a little embarrassed I hadn't figured it out myself years earlier. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because we post practical, no-nonsense growing content every week that'll save you money and put better food on your table. So let's get into it. Number 1, the philosophy that started everything. I want to go back to a farm in Shikoku, Japan in the 1940s. A man named Masanobu Fukuoka had just walked away from a government job as a plant pathologist, gone back to his family's land, and started asking a question that nobody in the agricultural establishment wanted to hear. What if we've been doing all of this completely wrong? What if the farm that does the least, no tilling, no spraying, no weeding, actually produces just as much as the farm that does the most? People thought he was out of his mind. I would have thought the same thing. But Fukuoka spent the next 65 years proving it on his own land. And in 1975, he published a book called The One Straw Revolution that eventually landed in front of farmers, gardeners, and homesteaders all over the world. His 4 principles were dead simple: no tillage, no chemical fertilizer, no herbicides, and no pesticides. He called it Shizen Noho, natural farming, and his rice yields matched the top conventional farms in his entire prefecture. Here's why it worked, and this is the part that connects directly to what we're doing in the garden. Fukuoka understood that weeds are not the enemy. They're a symptom. They show up where the soil has been disturbed, where the cover has been stripped away, where nature is trying to heal a wound. His answer was to never create that wound in the first place. After harvest, rice straw went right back onto the field as a mulch layer. White clover was sown as a living ground cover. Each crop was established just ahead of the weeds, not racing against them, but simply getting there first and holding the ground. I didn't understand any of this until I started watching what happened in the corners of my garden where I'd left a pile of old straw over winter. Come spring, those corners were the cleanest spots in the whole yard. Not a weed in them, and I'd done absolutely nothing. That was the moment it clicked. The Japanese farmers weren't fighting weeds, they were denying them the conditions they need to exist. That's a completely different game, and it's one you can win without spending $1. Number 2, what rice straw and rice paddies have to do with your backyard. Long before Fukuoka, long before anyone was writing things down, Japanese farmers were managing weeds with systems that most modern gardeners have never even considered. We're talking about the Yayoi period, rice paddies dating back around 2,300 years, engineered with sluice gates and precise water control. Standing water in a rice paddy suppresses almost every upland weed species. It's not a coincidence. It's a 2,000-year-old weed management system hiding behind what most people think of as just how you grow rice. Rice straw, mora in Japanese, was the backbone of this whole system. Nothing was wasted. After harvest, the straw went back to the field as mulch, suppressing the next flush of weeds, protecting the soil from rain compaction, and feeding the earthworms and microbes that kept the soil alive. What didn't go back to the field became rope, sandals, raincoats, and baskets. An entire material economy built around one plant. The craft of weaving with straw, warazaiku, is now a dying art in Japan, which tells you something about how far we've drifted from that kind of thinking. The Satoyama landscape took this further. Communities managed woodlands right alongside their paddies, harvesting grass, leaves, and organic material specifically for mulching their fields. One family would manage several acres of woodland just to feed their rice paddy with ground cover material, silver grass growing 7 feet tall, knotweed laid thick over potato fields on 30-degree slopes. The Nishiawa steep slope system has been doing this for hundreds of years and still is. It's a UNESCO agricultural heritage site now. The lesson that transfers directly to your backyard is this: bare soil is an invitation. Every Japanese farmer from the Edo period forward understood that the moment you leave soil uncovered, you've sent out an engraved announcement to every weed seed within 100 yards. The answer has always been the same: cover it, keep it covered, feed it while you cover it. We've just replaced rice straw and silver grass with something that's sitting in your recycling bin right now. Number 3, the newspaper layer. Why it works. Here's where the old Japanese logic meets the most practical thing I've done in my garden in 20 years. Newspaper mulching, sheet mulching, some people call it, is the modern backyard translation of everything Fukuoka and the traditional Satayama farmers understood about keeping soil covered and weed seeds dark. The mechanism is completely straightforward. Weed seeds need light to germinate. You lay newspaper flat across the soil surface, you block the light, and the seeds just sit there waiting for an opportunity that never comes. Meanwhile, the newspaper is doing 3 other things at the same time. It's retaining soil moisture, it's moderating soil temperature, and it's slowly breaking down into carbon-rich organic matter that feeds your soil biology. Researchers found that newspaper mulching can reduce weed biomass by up to 88% compared to uncovered soil. That's not a slight improvement, that's a transformation. Now, let me tell you exactly how to do this so you can actually go do it. First, you do not need to pull existing weeds before you lay the paper. Small annual weeds, chickweed, purslane, lamb squirters, you can smother right in place. Mow or cut them down low and lay right over them. What you do need to handle beforehand are the serious perennials: bindweed, quackgrass, Bermuda grass, nutsedge. Those will find their way around or through anything. Deal with them first. Everything else, the newspaper handles. Use 4 to 10 sheets of newspaper. Wet. That's the single most important word in this whole process. Wet. Soak the pages before you lay them, or wet the ground thoroughly and wet the paper as you go. Wet newspaper conforms to the soil surface, stays put in the wind, and starts breaking down immediately. Overlap every sheet by at least 6 inches and extend your coverage 6 to 8 inches past the edge of your garden bed. Weeds are sneaky. They will find any gap you leave them. On top of that, put at least 2 to 3 inches of organic material, wood chips, straw, finished compost, shredded leaves. Why the topping keeps the newspaper pinned, prevents it from drying out and lifting, and adds another layer of weed suppression. A full sheet stack of 8 to 10 pages will stay effective for about 3 to 4 months. After that, it breaks down into the soil. That's not a failure. That's the whole point. One thing I want to clear up, because I still hear people worry about this. Modern newspaper ink is fine. It's been soy-based or vegetable-based since the early 1990s. The USDA has confirmed it. Skip the glossy advertising inserts. Those are coated and break down slowly. But the regular newsprint is safe, even in a vegetable bed. I've been using it for years, and I have not grown a single mutant tomato. Number 4. What happens to your soil underneath? This is the one that surprised me. Number 5 on the list is actually what I'm talking about right now. What happens in the dark under those newspaper sheets while you're going about your life thinking nothing is happening? About 2 to 3 weeks after you lay your newspaper mulch, if you peel back a corner, you're going to see something that looks like nothing, except it's everything. The soil underneath will be dark and moist, And if you look closely, you'll see earthworm channels, not one or two, a network. The earthworms can smell the decomposing cellulose of the newspaper from below. They come up to feed on it, and they set up shop directly underneath. Earthworms in a mulched, no-till bed run roughly 70% higher in density than in conventionally tilled soil. Those worms are processing your old newspaper, your old weeds, your wood chip topping, turning it all into castings that are more nutrient-dense than almost any fertilizer you could buy. They're also drilling channels that aerate the soil and let rain penetrate instead of running off. You didn't do any of that work. You laid some wet newspaper and walked away. The moisture numbers back this up completely. Mulched soil holds 14 to 18% more water than bare soil. In a dry summer, that's the difference between a garden that's struggling and a garden that's thriving on half the water. I started using this method partly because my well runs low in August. The first summer I did it, I reduced my watering by nearly half, and my plants looked better than they ever had. I thought I was imagining it. I wasn't. The soil temperature stays more stable too, cooler in the heat of the day, warmer at night. Roots don't like extremes. The microbes that feed them don't like extremes either. The newspaper layer is moderating that whole environment, and you can feel it when you pull it back. Even in July, the soil underneath is noticeably cool and damp, and it smells the way good soil is supposed to smell, like something alive. Now, if you're finding this valuable and starting to realize just how much has been hiding in plain sight, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button right now. It helps this reach people who are tired of overcomplicating something as ancient as growing food. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that button and ring the bell. We're building a community of growers who believe that simplicity and working with nature will always beat expensive complexity. All right, let's keep going, because we're just getting to the truly remarkable ones. Number 5, the layering system that builds new soil from nothing. This is where the newspaper method becomes something much bigger than weed control. Western gardeners who studied the Japanese and natural farming traditions took the sheet mulching idea and developed what's sometimes called lasagna gardening. And once you understand how it works, you'll realize you can build a fully productive garden bed on top of gravel, compacted clay, or even lawn without digging a single inch. The principle comes from how a forest floor works. Leaves fall, they decompose, fungi and bacteria and earthworms process them. New organic matter falls, layer after layer. The forest doesn't dig, it adds. You're going to do the same thing. Lay your wet newspaper, 8 to 10 sheets, 6-inch overlap, directly on top of whatever you have. Lawn, weeds, clay, whatever. Then alternate brown carbon layers and green nitrogen layers on top. Brown materials are straw, dried leaves, wood chips, shredded cardboard, sawdust, high carbon. Green materials are grass clippings, kitchen scraps, fresh garden trimmings, coffee grounds, high nitrogen. You want roughly 4 parts brown to 1 part green. Keep layering until you have 8 to 12 inches of loose material. Finish with 2 inches of finished compost as your planting medium. That whole pile will compress and settle in a few weeks to about half its original height. But what it becomes underneath is something that took your neighbor's gardens 5 or 10 years of regular composting to achieve. Rich, dark, biologically active soil. The first season in a new lasagna bed, I direct seeded squash, beans, and tomatoes. No transplant shock, no fertilizer, nothing added. By late July, I couldn't walk through it. I've never had a bed established that fast using conventional soil preparation. The Japanese framing here is worth sitting with for a moment. Fukuoka called unnecessary tillage a sin against the earth. He meant that every time you turn the soil, you destroy the fungal networks, expose buried weed seeds to light, and collapse the structures that took years to build. The lasagna method honors that same principle. You never disturb what's below. You just keep adding above. Nature does the rest. Number 6, the timing piece most people miss. Japanese farmers, particularly those working within the Satayama and natural farming traditions, understood that timing with nature, not against it, is what separates a productive garden from a constant struggle. Fukuoka's whole system worked because he established his crops just slightly ahead of the weeds, not racing them, but positioning deliberately. The same principle applies to when you lay your newspaper mulch, and getting this right makes an enormous difference. Fall is actually the single best time to do a fresh sheet mulch. I know that sounds backwards, but here's what happens. You lay newspaper in October or November, top it with 4 to 6 inches of wood chips or straw, and let it sit all winter. By spring, 2 things have happened. The weed seed bank in the top inch of soil, the zone where 90% of seeds germinate, has been starved of light for months, and the newspaper has been pulling earthworms up and breaking down, feeding your soil all winter while you were inside drinking coffee. When spring comes, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from an advantage. You pull the top layer back slightly, poke a hole in the softened newspaper, drop in your transplant, and the bed is ready. Weeds that do manage to germinate in the wood chip surface are so shallow-rooted and weak, they pull out with 2 fingers. Spring application works too, but time it right before weed seeds have already germinated and established. Once a weed is up and growing and has put down roots, newspaper mulch won't kill it. It's a seed suppressor, not a weed killer. Lay it before the growing season opens and you're working with the timing of nature. Lay it in July when everything is already up and running and you'll still get benefit, but you've made your job harder than it needed to be. The other timing rule I follow: always mulch a day or 2 after rain or water thoroughly before you lay. Newspaper laid on dry, cracked soil traps that dryness underneath. You want to seal in moisture, not seal out rain. Water first, then layer. Now, before we get to the final entry, I want to pause on some patterns I see all the time, things most of us were taught to do, things I did for years, that this method handles completely differently. The first pattern is tilling. Most gardeners break up their soil every spring because that's what you do. What this approach does instead, never till. When let the earthworms and the decomposing layers do that work below the surface in a way that preserves the fungal networks your plants depend on. The second pattern is pulling weeds by hand after they emerge. What this approach does instead, prevent them from emerging at all by blocking light at the soil surface before the growing season opens. Prevention beats cure every time. The third pattern is buying bags of fertilizer or compost every year and working it in. What this approach does instead, builds fertility continuously on the surface through decomposing organic layers. You're not amending soil, you're making new soil, right on top of whatever you started with. The fourth pattern is starting with bare earth and waiting for it to improve. What this approach does instead, improves it immediately from the first season by never leaving it uncovered. And here we are at number 7, the one I saved for last because it represents everything we've talked about today. The newspaper itself, I know. After everything, the yayoi patties, Fukuoka's straw, the layering system, the earthworms, the conclusion is a stack of newspaper you can pick up for free. I want to sit with that for a minute because I think it's easy to hear it and feel like we've landed somewhere too simple. But simple is exactly the point. Simple is the whole point. Think about what the herbicide industry sells you. A bottle with a warning label, instructions not to let it contact your skin, a requirement to keep children and pets off the lawn for 24 to 48 hours. At the high end, professional weed control runs over $100 per treatment for a medium-sized garden, year after year, season after season. And here's the part, nobody in that industry is eager to advertise. It doesn't build anything. You spray it, the weeds die, and next season, the seeds are back because nothing changed. You didn't change the conditions. You just interrupted the cycle for a few months and paid for the privilege. Fukuoka understood this 75 years ago. Ruth Stout, a Connecticut woman who discovered her version of the same principle in the spring of 1944 at the age of 60 when she got tired of waiting for the plow, understood it too. She gardened actively into her 90s on a quarter-acre farm in New England, barely working, barely spending anything, producing more food than she could eat. She called it the no-work garden. It wasn't magic. It was just newspaper, hay, and patience. Here's what I want you to actually do this week. Find a section of your garden, even just a 4x8 strip, that has weeds or that you want to establish as a new bed next spring. Water it well. Cut or mow any existing vegetation down to the ground. Lay 8 to 10 sheets of wet newspaper with 6-inch overlaps and 6 inches of extension past every edge. Top it with 3 to 4 inches of whatever organic material you have available. Wood chips, straw, leaves, doesn't matter. Then leave it alone. Come back in 3 weeks and lift a corner. I want you to see what's living under there. I want you to feel the moisture, smell the soil, count the earthworms. Because that moment, that corner you peel back on a Tuesday morning is going to show you something that no amount of me talking about Japanese farmers and rice straw can quite capture. It's going to show you your soil waking up. And once you see that, you'll understand why people who have been farming the same land for 2,000 years never needed a bottle with a warning label. They just needed to cover the ground and get out of the way. That's the whole method. That's the whole secret. And it was sitting in your recycling bin the whole time. If you learned something today, hit that like button. It genuinely helps other growers find this. Drop a comment below. Are you team newspaper, team cardboard, or team straw? I want to know what you're working with. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the bell so you never miss a video. The best gardens aren't built with the most expensive tools. They're built by people who were patient enough to let the soil do what it's always known how to do, and smart enough to cover it while it got to work.